Growing up, my grandfather had a lake house here in Lake Eufala, and so this section of the lake is where I learned to ski and taught my kids to ski. And so we had a real love for this part of the lake. We loved how convenient it was to Oklahoma City, about 2 hours away from Oklahoma City, about an hour and a half from Tulsa. And the lake lifestyle was something that we just saw as a real quality of our life growing up. When I got out of college, we got engaged to my wife Jen, and we would go vacation out in the Destin, Panama City Beach area. And when we were out there, we came across a place called Seaside, Rosemary Beach. A couple of towns that were new urbanist communities down on Highway 30A on the Emerald Coast, and they were both designed by a guy named Andreas Duani. We actually found Andreas in Miami, and he's one of the most respected urban planners in the world. We brought him to Oklahoma, and we said, why don't you do a version of Seaside on an Oklahoma lake? And it won't just be a reproduction of a coastal community, it'll be an Oklahoma lake community, but with the same features and amenities and character that you find in these great places in Florida. And so that was in 2008, and during that design charrette, when we put together the vision for Carlton Landing, we began to have a more clear picture of what we wanted this lake community to look like. And we started taking steps to put it together, and over the last few years we've developed it up and continue to develop for the next 25 or 30 years as Carlton Landing grows into itself. From the beginning we knew that it would be both a resort community where people might come for the weekend or for a week, and they might come for a vacation or a destination wedding or a conference and retreat, for a church group or a corporate retreat. But we also knew that you'd have a year-round community that would be there as well. People that maybe their families with kids and their kids go to school here in Carlton Landing, or maybe it's retirees who want to find a place outside of the city where they can live in a walkable environment and still be part of a community. And so we knew we'd have both of those things going on. Over time, we found an opportunity to actually incorporate and become not just a town figuratively, but literally become a new municipality. And that opens up a lot of doors for us in terms of municipal bonds, working with the Corps of Engineers as a public entity, growing up an ad valorem tax base, and providing some public services like fire protection, ambulance, and emergency services that you can't do as just a resort development. It was really it was an interesting thing to go through. It was it might be something like what the idea of a pioneering mindset that people had, say, 200 years ago, or here in Oklahoma 100 years ago, that you start a community from scratch and you get to basically take off all of the predefined constraints of what a town has to look like, and you think, what kind of town would I like to live in? What are the things that we want this to look like? And you can think about, in terms of urbanism and architecture, what the built environment and the design fabric looks like. But more importantly, you get to things of values, shared values, civic virtues. How do we want to create a community that inspires and fosters a kind of community that's life-giving? How do we bring neighbors together in a way that's inspiring and respectful? And so you get into a lot of those values discussions. What's the role of government in a small settlement? And where does private rights versus the importance of some common good elements come together? So it's an interesting process.